Welcome to Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life. I'm so glad you're here with me today. If you are new to this podcast, thank you. Thank you for joining us and listening in. And if you've been listening for a while, thank you for being part of this community. It is because of you we are here. So today we're exploring what it means to live in alignment. For the next 3 weeks, we are going to explore this topic of alignment from a couple different angles, but today we're going to focus in on what does alignment mean and how do you know if you're living in alignment. Before we dive in, I want to introduce myself and my podcast partner and co-host, Laurel Holland. I am Laurel Boivin. I'm one of the hosts of Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life. I'm a leadership coach and a speaker. You'll find information about me, the work I do, and how to contact me in the show notes. My dear friend, Laurel Holland, is my partner in crime, partner in this podcast. When she approached me almost 5 years ago and asked me to join her as co-host, I said no. But I changed my mind really quickly, and I'm so glad I did, because this podcast has allowed me an opportunity to bring this conversation about inner work into the world. Laurel and I, each and every week, bring conversations that normalize inner work, that make you know you are not alone in discovering who you are at your core and creating a beautiful life. Laurel Holland is a life coach and an author. You'll find information about her and the books that she's written in the show notes. So we're going to start with, what exactly is alignment? It's one of those words. It sounds lovely, doesn't it? Don't we all want to live in alignment? But it can be hard to define and even harder to live. You might sense when you're out of alignment, but the language that we put to living in alignment, or the quest we have to feel what it feels like to live in alignment, is not so easy to talk about. Let's start with what it is. At its core, alignment to me is integrity, and not in a moral sense when I talk about integrity, but in an internal sense, when we sense that things are right. It's when your values, your body, your energy, and the choices you are making are not in conflict with one another or with who you are and what you desire. Alignment is when how you show up day in and day out, how you are on the outside, when that matches how you are, what you are on the inside, you know that you're in alignment. It can feel like harmony. It can feel like coherence, a steadiness, a quiet sense that you're on the right path, that everything is right in the world, or that your choices are a good fit for you. It doesn't mean that life is easy, but it does mean you're no longer battling with yourself. You're no longer forcing things or faking it. Alignment is not constant ease. It is not certainty, and it definitely is not perfection. Living in alignment doesn't mean you never struggle or doubt yourself. You do. It doesn't mean that you always know the next step or the right answer. Sometimes you don't. And the last thing I want to say about alignment is that alignment sometimes doesn't feel good. It can feel uncomfortable, unfamiliar, because sometimes living in alignment and making choices that bring your life into alignment, sometimes those choices include loss and grief, because choosing what fits now may be different than what you chose in the past. It might require you to let go of a choice you made in the past or something that fit you in the past. Alignment for me is about listening to my wisdom, my intuition, my inner knowing, listening to the data inside my body and being honest with myself. And what I know to be true, is that listening to your body, your intuition, your heart, and being honest with yourself is not always easy. I want to give you an example from my own life. It's the example of leaving my corporate career. It was at a time when I planned my plan. I had a life plan. My plan was to work for that company for another 8 years until I could leave with full retirement. But what I realized is I was not living in alignment. It meant recognizing that my corporate position that I planned to stay at no longer fit who I was. That role had served a prior version of me, but it was no longer aligned with my values. Misalignment showed up as chronic stress, frequent headaches, sleep interruptions, frustration, despite my plan, despite what I thought I wanted. When I realized that I was experiencing a misalignment of values conflict, I knew I needed to leave. And I have to tell you that leaving brought a lot of grief and loss. And I didn't recognize it as grief at the time. I did recognize the loss pretty quickly. It was loss of identity, of belonging, of a work family, of a familiar sense of purpose. I had so much uncertainty about what would come next, but I chose to leave that job anyway, to let go of my plan. And that was not easy. I had to trust myself. I had to trust that stepping forward so that I could live a life in alignment would be better for my health and well-being than staying in that job. So if you are sensing that you're out of alignment, be patient with yourself. We're going to come back to that. But I want to show you or talk to you about why alignment is important. Alignment is so important. When we live out of alignment for too long, it shows up in many of the ways I mentioned: exhaustion, overwhelm, burnout, resentment, anxiety, a sense of disconnection from ourselves and others, maybe disillusionment, maybe disappointment. But when we live in alignment, when we make choices that are in alignment, we have more energy. We can make decisions easier. We have clarity in our decision making. We have stronger, healthier boundaries and a deeper sense of purpose or meaning. Living in alignment allows us to care, lead, and contribute to others and the world without self-abandonment or neglect. So I did mention how misalignment shows up, and I'm curious, how does it show up for you? Sometimes it's not always obvious or apparent. I can tell you when I had headaches frequently, I did not think it was because I was living out of alignment. I thought it was because I had a stressful job. But misalignment tends to show up gradually in different parts of ourselves, in our bodies, and our mind, and it shows up in our life. It shows up physically with physical symptoms: headaches, fatigue, sleep disruption, being constantly on high alert, or feeling edgy. It shows up mentally in overthinking, second guessing, doubting yourself, difficulty making decisions. It shows up emotionally as irritability, sadness, overwhelm, or maybe even numbness, maybe feeling apathetic. It shows up spiritually when you experience a loss of meaning, disconnection from purpose, or you have a sense that something essential is missing. I remember that. I remember thinking often, there's got to be more to life than this. At the time, I did not know that question was a clue that I was not living in alignment. Now, I like to think of all of these signs or the ways that misalignment shows up as symptoms, as messengers, data, information worth noticing and listening to. Because sometimes The reality is when you are living out of alignment, you don't recognize these symptoms as messengers. You blame these symptoms on external things rather than looking inside, looking at yourself and asking, am I living in alignment with my values, with what's important to me, with my gifts, with my purpose? So let's talk for a minute about what gets in the way. Why is it hard to live in alignment? Well, I'm going to tell you. For many capable, caring, responsible people like us, pushing through discomfort became a skill early on. We learned how to function under pressure, how to stay productive, even when we're tired or stressed, and how to show up reliably because other people depended on us, or other people still depend on us. And those strengths, they are often praised and rewarded in many areas of our life, in our families, in our workplace, sometimes even in our communities. But being good at pushing through can make alignment harder because it trains us to overlook the signals from our bodies and our emotions. We override this inner wisdom in the name of responsibility, productivity, and stability. Over time, fatigue, tension, or disconnection can start to feel normal, and it takes a toll on us physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I want you to think about if you are sensing, if you know there's areas where you are not living in alignment. I want to offer you a few gentle ways to begin moving toward alignment. This is not a checklist, but an invitation. The first suggestion I have is slow down enough to notice. I can tell you when I was working at the end of my corporate career, working in that role that was high stress, high demand, and I loved every minute of it, I did not notice my internal signals. I was disconnected from my body. I could not feel my heart beating in my chest because I was so much in my head. I thought through the answers. I thought through my decisions. I did not slow down enough to notice until very late in my readjustment, in my pivoting towards alignment. So alignment, I have to tell you, begins with awareness. Pay attention to the moments when your body tightens, when your energy drops, or when your patience thins. Those are often the signals that something is out of sync, out of alignment. Second, name what is true. Yes, name. So notice first, name second. Quietly, honestly. This is where being honest with yourself is important. You don't have to act on anything yet. Simply name what is true. You might just say, this doesn't feel right anymore. Or, I notice that I'm pushing past myself. I'm neglecting myself. Naming it can be a very powerful step. Third, after noticing and naming, listen to your body as data, not as a problem. Try asking, what is my body trying to tell me? Because your body has wisdom and communicates with you. So when you can slow down enough to notice, you will have so much information. The fourth thing is to take one small aligned step. Alignment doesn't ask us for big dramatic change. You don't have to quit your job. You can take one small step. Often, alignment begins with a new boundary, a pause, a conversation, or a choice that brings a little more honesty into your day. And finally, give yourself permission to move slowly, to explore whether you're in alignment or not. Alignment unfolds over time. And give yourself grace. While you're learning to listen to your inner wisdom, give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself. So I just want to recap, and then we're going to close out this episode. Alignment means You're no longer overriding your inner signals in order to meet expectations, maintain appearances, or push through at your own expense. Instead, you're listening to what your body, emotions, intuition, heart, and sense of meaning or purpose are telling you. And you're allowing that information to guide you in how you live and show up in the world, in your personal life and in your professional life. Living in alignment doesn't mean life is easy, certain, predictable, or perfectly balanced. It means your life makes sense from the inside, even when it's complex or challenging. There's less inner negotiation, less self-betrayal, and a growing sense of steadiness and integrity in how you move through the world. At its simplest, alignment, living in alignment, is choosing what fits you now, in this moment, in the present. So that's what I have for you today. Over the next few weeks, we're going to continue to explore alignment through lived experience, honest conversation, and gentle integration. Thank you for being here and for doing your inner work. If you need support as you are moving into a life of alignment, as you are creating your beautiful life, please reach out to us. Laurel and I are here for you. We would be honored to support you. And if this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to subscribe, share it with someone who might need it, or leave a review, because your reviews help other people find the show. Until next time, take good care and keep doing your inner work, because it is your inner work that creates a beautiful life. We'll be back next week for more. Bye for now.